If you are building agents on Azure, you will meet the Microsoft Agent Framework, MF for short. It is the agent framework Python package Microsoft shipped to end a real problem. Before name, there were two libraries, AutoGen, the research-flavored one for multi-agent conversations, and Semantic Kernel, the enterprise-flavored one for plugins and orchestration. They overlapped, they confused customers, and they split the documentation. MAF is the merger, one SDK, one mental model. It reached 1.0 GA in 2026 and the old 2 are now in maintenance mode. So new Azure agent work should start here. The whole framework is 4 building blocks. A ChatAgent is an LLM plus instructions plus tools. That is the unit of agency. Tools are Python functions the agent can call, and there are hosted ones too, like a code interpreter and file search. Threads are conversation state, persisting messages so the agent can hold context across turns. And workflows are graphs of agents and other executors for multi-agent orchestration. What MF really gets right is the Azure integration. The chat client is a first-class object and Entra ID auth is built in. Let me show you the smallest useful program because it is just 3 objects. First, the model client. You build an Azure OpenIChat client and here is the Azure Touch. Authentication is Entra ID, so there is no API key sitting in your code. Second, the agent. You create a chat agent, pass it the client a name and instructions, which act as its system prompt. No tools yet. Third, you call it. You await agent.run with a question and read the answer of result.messages. Run is one shot, while runstream yields tokens as they arrive. Client agent call, that is the entire API surface for a non-tool agent. Now notice something. There is no separate session or memory object and agent.run is stateless by default. Ask a follow-up and the agent has already forgotten the first question. That is what threads fix. You call getNewThread, then pass that same thread into each run. Now the second call, show me one in PySpark, has the first question in context. The thread accumulated the history. And threads can be backed by a store, Cosmos DB or Redis, so conversations survive a process restart. One sharp warning the lesson makes, a thread is not a user session. It is a conversation container, not an auth boundary. You are responsible for mapping user and conversation IDs to a thread and making sure user cannot load user BS thread. MAF is an SDK, not a hosting layer. So when do you reach for EMAF? When you are already on Azure or your team is on .NET, where EMAF has full parity that LangGraph and ADK do not. When not to, if you're on AWS or GCP with no Azure footprint, the integration value evaporates and you are left with a perfectly fine but generic SDK. 3 objects to start, threads for memory, and the whole Azure stack wired in behind it.